for you as a person is that it keeps you accountable. It keeps you focused on growing, and it keeps you intentional about who you're becoming, so you can measure your growth and you can know spaces that are wasting your time. All right. So I know spaces that are wasting my time. So I'm not even going to bother entering into those spaces. I'm not even going to bother paying attention to those things, because I realize that when I listen, I don't have action points. I don't have things to work on. So I must have outgrown that curriculum. That's how we grow. So today's session is master your emotions or they will master you. Master your emotions or they will master you. I'll begin by telling you something my mom taught me as a child. She said to me, your emotion is a powerful servant, but a dangerous leader. Your emotions are powerful servants, but very dangerous leaders. So it is an unwise thing to allow yourself and to allow your life to be led by your emotions. And so many of us are very gifted, we're intelligent, we're ambitious, but we're emotionally unstable. So we find ourselves, sabotaging relationships, delaying opportunities. We find ourselves, thank you. We find ourselves reacting impulsively. We find ourselves losing focus. We find ourselves quitting too early. We see ourselves making permanent decisions from temporary feelings. And in today's class, I really want to help you to develop what I call emotional mastery, to help you build mental steadiness and to become a disciplined self leader, so that you can build a stable life, you can lead yourself effectively and even others, and execute well under pressure. Many of us, as young believers, we believe that we should react instead of responding. Many times we believe that, oh, our emotions should control our decisions. So the way I feel about something should determine how I respond to that thing. And thirdly, we confuse feelings with truth. So because the feeling is overwhelmingly strong in the moment, we confuse it with truth. So the fact that I feel offended at a person does not mean that the person is a bad person. But because we are in our feelings, we're in our emotions, we're in that space where our decisions and our actions are guided by how we feel. Are you with me? They are guided by how we feel. Number four, a lot of us struggle with inconsistency. So you're trying to be consistent with things, you're trying to keep up, and you're finding that, oh, I can't keep up. These are signs of emotional distress, that you have not mastered your emotions. Number five is lack of emotional discipline under pressure. So you say what you feel and you don't apologize for it. Oh, I feel this way. I said it. Get over it. Do you and all that. Number six, you feel mentally overwhelmed and internally unstable. So in your mind, you just find that, oh, I'm always overwhelmed. I'm never ever settled. I'm always thinking that somebody is against me, something is against me, things like that. And then finally, we start strong, but we find ourselves collapsing mentally or emotionally when things get hard. And the result of all of this is broken focus. So you realize that your focus is broken. You can't follow through. You have unstable habits. So today you like reading, tomorrow you hate reading. Today you're paying attention to growth, tomorrow you're struggling with growth. The third thing is you find that you can't build stable relationships. Now, let's be honest. Can I ask an honest question? Everyone in the room right now, how many of us know that it is very difficult for some of us Gen Zs and some of us millennials to point friends that we've had for over 10 years? Let's be practical right now. How many of you have a friend that has been your friend for over 10 years of your life? You have a friend who has been your friend. If that's you, just comment in the chat, me, 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 me. You have a friend who has been your friend for over 10 years. So there's about over 10 of us in the room, and only one person has a friend that has been their friend for over 10 years. Okay, two people. I'll give one more minute. You have a friend or two that has been your friend for over 10 years of your life, and you guys have maintained a relationship. You have people in your life over 10 years. So, what about 20 years? That means I'm assuming that everybody here is over 20. 20 years. You have a friend who has been your friend for over 20 years of your life. 20 years. Okay, so two people out of over 10 of us, three people out of over 10 of us. The point is, sometimes unstable emotions strain our friendships, strain our relationships, and we end up struggling. The fourth is delayed growth. So, because you're starting and stopping things, you're not exactly growing. Imagine if you put a plant to the ground and you keep bringing it out every day to check it to see if it's growing. So you open the soil, you bring out the seed, and you say, I want to check to see if you're growing. Do you think that seed would ever grow? No seed grows until it's allowed to grow. And so when your emotions are unstable, you now realize that you're consistently trying, but you're not hitting the mark. You're consistently trying, but you're consistently overwhelming yourself. All right. There is low execution capacity. So you realize that you're not able to follow through things. You're not able to execute properly. There's emotional exhaustion. So today, I really want to show you how to regulate yourself internally so that you can live your best lives. And I want to share with you a framework that has helped me in my growth journey. I want to help share with you a framework, and that framework is called steady. Steady. How does steady work? S is for self awareness. S is self awareness. So you recognize your emotional triggers. T is for thought management. T is thought management. So you're able to control your internal narratives before they control your behavior. So I control what I'm thinking before what I'm thinking controls me. I control what I'm thinking so that what I'm thinking does not control me. The next is E, emotional regulation. How do I stay calm when the world around me is in chaos? How do I stay calm when it feels like everybody wants a piece of me? How do I stay calm when everything feels out of control? That's the emotional regulation that we're speaking about. So I'm regulating my emotions, I'm regulating myself, I'm allowing myself to be led by the Spirit of God and to be led properly in what I need to be and what I need to do. Then A, sorry. A is aligned responses. Aligned responses. So I don't respond to things based on the events. I don't respond to things based on what has happened. I respond based on my values. So your feelings does not guide your response, but your values do. So what are your core values? Do you even have core values? What are the things that are important to you? For example, one of my core values is to never leave my opponent broken on the battlefield. So what do I mean? I won't use my words to destroy you. I won't allow my actions to kill you or something like that. So if we're competing for something, I want to win with a clear advantage, but no, I won't fight dirty. That's one of my core values. So when I'm responding, when I see people fighting dirty, even though I have the means to retaliate, I choose not to. That's an aligned response, making sure that my core values are guiding my responses, not what I'm feeling. So even though I feel a certain way, I will not respond in the way that I feel. And then there is D, discipline systems. So I build habits that stabilizes my emotions daily. You know, there are certain things that you do that make sure your emotion feel like um how do I even put it? NEPA. You know how NEPA sometimes they'll take the lights, they'll bring it, they'll take the lights, they'll bring it, almost as though they are unsure whether to leave the light for you or to take the light. That's how some of us are. So you're on social media, you see this, you're excited, you see this, you're sad because you're comparing yourself with the people that you're seeing on the other side, right? So you want to create discipline systems. For example, a discipline system can mean I'm going to put a timer on my social media apps. So in total, I can only spend 2 hours on social media daily. Once it exceeds 2 hours, I have to get off social media. That can be a discipline system to ensure that your habits are stabilizing your emotion, not overwhelming it. And then why is yielded identity? So you stay grounded spiritually and you stay secure in knowing who you are in Christ and what has been done for you. So let's begin. Self awareness. Most of us are not destroyed because we don't have talent. We're destroyed because we don't have self control. Because one emotional moment can damage opportunities, it can damage relationships, it can damage leadership, it can damage consistency. Have you ever had someone who said something and everything that you spent months building was all scattered just because of that thing that person said? Or you've seen a person's reputation destroyed just because they couldn't keep their mouth shut. So it's not because the person is bad innately, it's just that they have been unable to not manage their emotions internally. And one of the dangerous things about emotional reactions is that in the moment you feel justified, your angry response in that moment feels like a necessary thing. I need people to see that I'm upset about this. Or the shutdown, I'm going to shut down this group. The shutdown in the moment feels reasonable. The impulsive decision feels right. But emotions are temporary states, not trustworthy leaders. So emotions are temporal. But many of us, like I said in the beginning, are making permanent decisions from temporary emotions. So we're going to learn how to lead ourselves better without having to suppress ourselves or pretend that we're very strong people, or to become emotionless. We want to become emotionally stable. So the first question I'm going to ask you right now, and I want you to drop an answer in the chat, is how do you usually respond under pressure? How do you usually respond under pressure? Now, I'm not asking for how you wish you responded. I'm asking for how you actually respond. So, do you withdraw? Do you explode? Do you overthink? Do you become defensive? Do you avoid communication? Do you shut down? Do you panic internally? Do you become talkative? Do you become impulsive? I want you to be honest. So, how do you act when you're under pressure? All right. Thank you for sharing. You withdraw, you become defensive. Thank you for sharing, guys. You withdraw and you overthink. I love it. Let's keep the answers coming, guys. How do you respond under pressure? Withdrawal or getting angry? You make your point clear. Hmm. I'd love to have a conversation about that, making point clear, because so you just express yourself in that moment of anger or all of that. You avoid everyone because it could cause you to say something that you wouldn't like. Okay. Because if we're not honest about how we handle things, we'd realize that we're just pretending. And I've learned over time that self awareness is the beginning of transformation. So if you want to change, you need to be self aware. You cannot regulate what you refuse to recognize. You cannot regulate what you refuse to recognize. So most of our emotional reactions are patterned responses, meaning that you learned them. Your reactions are patterned responses. So some of us learned how to be angry. Some of us learned how to become silent. Some of us learned emotional avoidance. Some of us learned things like people pleasing. And I see many of us as adults repeating those emotional habits that we learned as children. You saw somebody doing it and you felt this is normal. And I realized that until you identify patterns, your reactions will consistently become automatic. So you now hear people saying things like, oh, that's just the way I am. No, that's not the way you are. That's how you've trained yourself to respond. But what you learned, you can unlearn. So if your response is consistently self-sabotaging, you could actually pay the price to unlearn the things that you are holding on to so dearly. Now, don't get me wrong. Your emotions are real, but they are not always accurate. Your emotions are real, but they are not accurate all the time. So the fact that you feel rejected does not mean that you were rejected. Do you understand? You feel rejected doesn't mean that you were rejected. So it means that you feel that, oh, I was rejected by this person, I didn't get the job, this happened, but it's a feeling. It doesn't mean you actually were. It doesn't mean that this is who you've become. It doesn't mean that this is the outcome that you're carrying or you're living by. Do you understand? And so the fact that, for example, you're feeling behind does not mean that your life is failing. Or the fact that you're feeling anxious does not automatically mean that something bad will happen. Emotions will communicate signals, but even the signals would need interpretations. So emotions are going to tell you something, but you need to interpret what that emotion is saying to you well. So for us to become emotionally mature people, we don't obey every feeling that we have, we examine the feelings. So I'm I want us to do what I call the emotional trigger mapping. Emotional trigger mapping. And I'm going to list out some emotions, and even you can think of emotions that I've not listed. And I want you to think about each one, answering one of these three questions. Why does this emotion affect me the way that it does? So when you're criticized, how do you respond? And why does it affect you the way that it does? When you're ignored, how do you respond? Why does it affect you the way that it does? When you're delayed, how do you respond? And why does it affect you the way that it does? When you're disrespected, how do you respond? And why does it bother you the way it does? When you're uncertain, how do you respond? And why does it affect you so much? When you compare yourself with other people, how do you respond? And why does it affect you so much? When you feel misunderstood, how do you respond? And why does it affect you so much? Some of these emotional responses will reveal to you your insecurities. It will show you your fears. It will show you areas of your life where your identity is wounded. There's something called identity wounds. So you believe people love you until they get busy and they are not as available as they used to be. That's an identity wound. So you don't feel loved when people are not consistently in communication with you. Or you feel that, oh, something is wrong with me because people are not showing up for me the way that I feel that they should show up for me. So we have all these identity wounds that we carry. And then there's pride, there's unresolved pain. When you become self aware about why things bother you, it's not condemnation. You're getting clarity and you're becoming better. I'll give you a practical example. I remember when people talk about my weight, it would bother me. It would get to me. Why are you talking about my weight? Why you leave my weight alone and all that? And I would always feel offended that people spoke about my weight. And I asked myself one day, why am I so offended at this thing? And in my initially, I was very defensive about my response. Oh, I hate it when people are fat shaming people. And I had to ask myself an honest question one of those days. Um, I said, is it that people are fat shaming, or is it the fact that you feel ashamed about how you look and you feel powerless to do something about it? You see, until you become very blunt and honest and vulnerable with, things that you're doing and how you are, until you get to that point, you now realize that you are not being yourself, you're not thriving, you're consistently defensive. And so you want to make sure that you're not defensive. You're being honest. Okay, this is why I feel what I feel. This is what I feel. This is what my feelings are saying to me. And this is how I am choosing to respond to my feelings. And I want to teach you something very powerful. When your emotions become intense, your logic gets weaker. When your emotions become very intense, your logic becomes weaker. And this is why a lot of us send messages that we regret, or we make emotional purchases, or we damage relationships impulsively, or quit too early, or even react without thinking. Strong emotions would always reduce perspective temporarily. Strong emotions, whether anger, whether lust, whether hunger, strong emotions will reduce your perspective temporarily. So, emotional maturity is learning how to pause long enough for wisdom to return. A pause can save a relationship. Um it can save an opportunity. It can save your reputation. It can save decisions. I remember reading a book 2, 3 years ago, The 5 Second Rule, that said when things happen, don't respond immediately. Give 5 seconds before you respond. And I realized that when you feel intense emotions, right, that 5 second rule actually helps you. That 5 second rule actually helps you see differently, actually helps you respond differently. So you're not just getting upset and responding in your moment of upset. You are actually giving yourself an opportunity to breathe and to respond from a clear head. So the Bible tells us be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to answer. So notice the structure in the Bible. Slow down. The Bible says slow down. You've heard what they said, but slow down, don't speak. Slow down, don't get angry. When you're emotionally mature, you react quickly. But when you're emotionally immature, rather, you react quickly. But when you become emotionally mature, you realize that you process things carefully. And Jesus is a great example. Jesus felt the things that we're feeling. He felt betrayed. He felt grief. He felt frustration. He felt sorrow. But his emotions did not control his direction. His emotions did not control his direction. So, as a sign of maturity, we must learn to feel what we feel without losing control. So, I can feel it, but I shouldn't lose control because of it. I can feel it, but I'm not going to lose myself because of it. So, what do I do in moments practically when emotions become intense? What do I do when emotions become very intense? Because being aware of the fact that emotions are intense is not enough. You can recognize unhealthy patterns, but still repeat them if you don't have regulation skills. And this is where a lot of us struggle. We think that being emotional, having emotional control means that you don't care, you suppress your feelings, you act tough, or you become emotionally cold. No, emotional regulation means that you feel emotions, but you're not ruled by your emotions. So you feel angry, but you're not ruled by anger. You feel overwhelmed, but you're not ruled by overwhelm. You're able to stay steady even when you feel pressured. You're able to stay steady even when you feel a certain way. So, what's the problem with reacting emotionally? Many of us react first and think later because emotions create a sense of urgency. Emotions create a sense of urgency. So, anger says respond now. Anxiety says panic now. Fear says escape now, shut down now. Insecurity says defend yourself now. But if you don't learn to pause, if you don't learn to take a breather, to slow down, like the Bible says, your emotions will make you make decisions wisdom would never allow you to make. So people that are emotionally reactive people cause damage not because they are not intelligent, but because they are unable to regulate themselves. So, what is the first law of emotional control? I want everybody to write this down and never forget it. You cannot control the first feeling, but you can control the first response. I want everybody to write it down and never forget it. You cannot control the first feeling, but you can control the first response. You see, that changes everything, because you may feel anger immediately, you may feel hurt immediately, you may feel frustration immediately. That part is human, but the next part is trainable. Maturity begins when emotions stop becoming automatic instructions. So the fact that I feel angry does not mean that I should respond in anger. The fact that I feel hurt does not mean I should respond in my pain. The fact that I feel frustrated does not mean that I should respond in frustration. I can't control, you can't control the first feeling, but you can control the first emotion. So the first tool of emotional mastery is pause before responding. And earlier I taught you about the 5-second rule. We're not asking you to pause forever. We're not asking you to swallow what was done and sweep it under the carpet. No, pause long enough so that you have clarity. Pause long enough to see the full picture. Pause long enough to be able to ask intelligent questions instead of emotional ones. Because, like I told you, your emotions would temporarily reduce your perspective. So, when your emotions rise, your thinking is narrow, your assumptions will increase, your interpretation will be distorted. So you now realize that after the emotion and you're calmer now, you're realizing that, I wasn't thinking clearly. Exactly, because strong emotions will weaken your perspective, it will weaken your clarity. So your first job is not to fix the situation. Your first job is stabilize yourself. Your first job is to make sure you do not react in the emotion that you feel. So when you feel it, there's something I do. I call it the reset. And I try to do it in 5 seconds. Or I even take my time. I don't try to respond immediately. Reset is that I recognize it. I recognize it. So I name what I'm feeling specifically. I don't just say I'm upset, I'm accurate. I tell myself I'm disappointed, I'm embarrassed, I feel rejected, I feel overwhelmed, I feel anxious, I feel frustrated. The moment I name it, then I can feel a sense of control over it. The second thing I do is I exhale. Exhaling slows down your body physically. And this matters more than people actually realize. So you slow down your breathing because your body affects your emotions. So slow breathing signals safety to your nervous system. So the moment your breathing is no longer, you get that kind of thing. Your body begins to realize that, okay, we're not overwhelmed, we're not crazy around here. All right. The third S rather is separate facts from feelings. So in that moment, I'm not making any assumptions, it's facts. Because when you're emotionally overwhelmed, it's easy for you to create stories. They hate me, I'm failing, nobody cares about me, everything is ruined. No, separate your interpretation from the reality. What do you know for a fact? not something that you've conjured. What do you know for a fact? Then evaluate the consequence. Ask yourself, if I react in the way that I want to react right now, will this reaction help or would it harm my future? Trust me, this question alone is enough to stop emotional damage. And then C is take a governed decision. You respond with intentionality, you respond strategically. And sometimes the mature response is silence. Sometimes the mature response is waiting. Sometimes the mature response is clarifying. Sometimes the mature response is asking questions. Sometimes the mature response is revisiting it later. But emotional maturity is not asking for acting fast. It is in responding wisely. It is in responding wisely. Remember that the Bible says that a person without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. It means that emotional instability would leave you vulnerable. So your self-control will protect you. And remember that self-control is a fruit of the Spirit. So that means that spiritual growth should also produce emotional maturity. Your spiritual growth should also produce emotional maturity. Our time is fast spent, and I have another meeting that should have started already. I just saw the time. Oh my God. Any questions? Any questions? Does anybody have any questions? All right. Was today valuable for someone? Did today's conversation help anybody? Awesome. Thank you. So the replay is going to be available. I need you to listen to it. I need you to take your time to go through the coaching questions. Um just take your time. So I see a question from Temilolua. How can I apologize in situations where I should have taken time to respond but answered angrily? How do I apologize? You have to do it sincerely. So if you still have access to them, if you can, go to them in person and apologize. Go with a gift and say, listen, I'm sorry. I responded in a way that was unwise and immature, and I sincerely apologize for my response. I should not have responded or acted out this way. It was unwise of me. If you don't have access to them physically anymore, send them a message. And please don't use ChatGPT to come up with the message. Sit down and come up with a message like by yourself, apologizing for what happened. And when you apologize in that circumstance, please don't defend yourself. Please don't try to explain yourself and don't give excuses. I'm sorry that I allowed my emotions get the better of me and I responded poorly. I sincerely apologize for that behavior. I understand that the behavior um, may have cost me access to you, but if I'm given access again, I would ensure that this does not happen again, especially if it is someone above you. If it is a friend, someone who you are friends with, I'd say talk about now, apologize first, then at a later time, talk about what has happened. Your apology is because of your reaction. Your apology is because of your reaction. So if you want to talk about what has happened, please don't use the time that you came to apologize to talk about it. Because it would seem as though you came to defend yourself, and that's not a good way to sustain a relationship. So um and this will help those of you who are married or intend to get married. When something happens at home and it's your fault and you apologize, that's not when to address the situation. Apologize and let it go, and then address the situation at a later time. Like, give it time. When both of you are in a good mood, you can bring it up and say, how far can we talk about what happened that led to this argument on so 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 and so 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 day. Now, if you're unable to have such conversations, a way to protect yourself from being taken for granted is to put boundaries with love. So what I say when I say boundaries with love is, I use the parameters of God's love to make my boundaries. I'm not making my boundaries out of selfishness. I'm not making my boundaries out of ostentatiousness. I'm making my boundaries not just to self protect, but to protect the other person too. So my boundaries are created out of love. Lillian asked a question: how do I manage my emotions so as not to transfer my aggression to others? I'm guessing is what you mean. Um, when you feel that way, one of the great ways is to be silent and ask to have the conversation at a later time. You see, one of the mistakes that we make as people is that we assume that because the issue happened now, we need to address it now. This is what destroys relationships. This is what destroys friendships. You're trying to solve the issue now. No, sometimes you need to walk away from the intensity of the moment. Sometimes you need to take a breather. Sometimes you need a break from from it. Are you with me? Like, you need a break. You need to come out of that moment. You need to step out of that space. You can't be in the middle of it and yet seek to um address it at the same time. So I'm in the middle of it and I also want to address it. No, it won't work. So you want to give time, you want to give space to it, and then come back and address it. Give time. Time would always reduce the intensity, help you see clearly so that you know where you're making assumptions and when you are clear about your facts. And sometimes, sincerely speaking, asking questions will make you realize that what you're angry about is actually you overthinking and not what has actually happened. With these few points of mine, I hope I've convinced you and not confused you. Thank you all for showing up today. So I'm going to do something this week. I'm going to record purpose code for you. And I'm going to record purpose code for you. And I'm going to record the completed part of this class because the class still has like about another 2-3 parts to go. So I'm just going to record that separately and give that to you by God's grace this week. Fingers crossed with my schedule. Lillian is asking, but what happens when you in a situation when you have to attend to people? Excuse yourself, go for a bathroom break. Oh, please, can I go to the bathroom? Does that help you, Lillian? Oh, please, I need to use the toilet, and go there and wash your face. 5-second rules. Just remove yourself from the moment, remove yourself from the space, and it helps you. Um, all right. Was today worth it? Was today valuable? Was today good? Lillian and Temi, did I answer your questions? All right. So Temi and I think it's Jedidiah, you two were the most active participants in today's class. So